All right, we're going to talk about something, but we need to make sure that we are level in our understanding. Right? There's two things that we need to understand before we dive into this. Well, three things. First thing, why am I talking about this? Well, I talk about whatever I want to talk about, and I feel like this is the sort of thing that usually gets misunderstood for things that it isn't. I think it's very important, honestly, whenever there are accusations flying around about a player to actually shove all that to the side and dive into what's actually happening. Because typically the way this sort of shit works in normal society, right, is you'll hear something from a friend, maybe you'll see an erroneous tweet or some did I just use the word erroneous? I don't know. We're getting fancy today. You'll see a tweet, you'll hear something from a friend, you'll see like a headline on TV, and you'll just make an assumption. Your brain just kind of fills in the rest of the blanks, but you don't really know what's going on. And I think when it comes to dealing with players that are so in the spotlight, like Raul Asensio at Real Madrid and with Spain, he's on the Spanish national team, it is important to know exactly what information is out there and what is happening and what is not happening, basically. Second thing we need to understand is that, I do believe, right, as somebody that has studied history for a long time, in the idea of innocent until proven guilty. That is basically the cornerstone on which good legal structures for society stand on. You cannot be convicted in the court of public opinion. There is a reason that you have to go to court in the first place to prove that something happened beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That is great. And Raul Asensio, as of the moment of this recording, has not been convicted of anything. But the third thing, right, and this isn't a situation where everything before the word but is bullshit, right? The third thing is also important. We are talking about something that is potentially really PTSD-inducing for people. So if you have an idea of where this is going, maybe this isn't the video you want to watch. Also, we're talking about something that, if you are convicted of it, is heinous and really not good. In fact, quite bad. But there's another but. I hope this isn't all one sentence because my old English teachers are going to be furious. It is important to understand how little we actually know of the amount of involvement of the people. So Raul Asensio has cleared the threshold, would be the way I would describe, the way I would paraphrase it. And I'm basing this off a couple of articles, but mostly an article by Mario Corajana and Guillermo Rai, who they write for The Athletic, or at least they did in this particular instance. That's the article that we'll reference the most. It is a situation in the Spanish courts where, if you're American, it's the idea of a grand jury, right? They get the grand jury together and they decide if there is enough for there to potentially be a case. We have now passed that round. And they have made the executive decision, right? These people that are on their fact-finding mission, they have decided that there is enough for there to be a case against Raul Asensio, a defender for Real Madrid. And this is a case that involves charges around sharing a sex tape that involves a minor. So that's fucking awful, right? Like that's not great, but that obviously doesn't give you the details of the situation. And I'm not talking about the details of like the tape. I'm talking about the details of the logistics around it and how Raul Asensio is involved, because he is not the only person or player in the Real Madrid Academy that is involved. So the case comes from 2023 when Raul Asensio and a couple of other players who were all kind of in the lower level of Real Madrid, not with the first team at this time, were all on vacation. The three other players are guys named Ferran Ruiz, Juan Rodriguez, and Andres Garcia. And in September of 2023, all three of those dudes were arrested. They were arrested. Raul Asensio obviously was not. And this wasn't he plays for Real Madrid, we're not going to touch him. They all were not Real Madrid first-team players at this time. Okay, so it was these other three, they were the ones that were clearly, based off the fact that they were arrested initially, I want to say the most involved. Right? If you're looking for the ringleader or if we're ranking top, you've got your best 11 of worst people in history. The people that have been arrested are going to be in the world best 11 for that, right? I'm just referring to that meme of, when they line up like the worst 11 people from history. But these three people were arrested way back in 2023. Okay, they're arrested, they're put in jail, and as a part of the investigation, they invited Asensio to give testimony as a witness to what happened, right? They're all on vacation. They are professional footballers for the Real Madrid Academy, the Real Madrid Castilla, right? They've got some cachet. They're partying with all these girls. Some videos are getting broadcasted and made, and shit gets real illegal real fast, based off my understanding of reading these couple of articles. And they bring in Raul Asensio as a witness to this. And after he comes in as a witness, he becomes a part of the investigation. And then at that point, this is when Real Madrid starts to kind of have to deal with this. They said a Castilla player and 3 Real Madrid C players were involved in this. They said that the club has detailed facts, will take appropriate measures. Well, apparently they haven't had the detailed facts yet. Again, innocent until proven guilty. Raul Asensio played 22 times this far in La Liga. He made 10 Champions League appearances. This guy has gone on to become a serious first-team regular. Okay, The Athletic, in a separate part of the investigation, if you want to juxtapose these two things, has confirmed that one of the women involved in this incident is under 16. So we're not talking about somebody who is 4 days from their 18th birthday here. Not that that should make a difference, and legally it doesn't. But we are talking about particularly obvious violations of the law going on here. The statement by the court on Wednesday stated the investigation had concluded. Again, this is the fact-finding mission. In a document in Spanish, which has been translated by The Athletic, shout out to them again, it said it qualifies the player's actions as allegedly constitutive, and here's where they list out the crimes. That's why I'm reading this paragraph to you. Constitutive of crimes of discovery of secrets without consent and violation of privacy, of distribution and sending to third parties of the videos without the warning of the victims or their consent. So this video was shared around. Probably, in my opinion, top 5 worst sides of humanity in the digital age in particular. Because as a guy who's played a lot of sports and been around a lot of dudes, I have been approached. And I'm sure I'm not the only person this has happened to. By other people, friends, people that were on my sports team at the time. Some random person at a party. They were like, hey, do you want to see that girl's nudes? I don't understand what compels people to do that. But it is a horrifying epidemic that is amplified to a massively, particularly egregious and illegal extent with this sort of charge. Right? Being distributed without the victim's consent, without warning the victims or their consent. And of recruitment, and this is the most troubling thing for me. This is the most troubling thing for me. And of the recruitment or use of minors for pornographic purposes and possession of the videos without their consent and possession of the videos without the consent of the victims. So based off the charges, again, these are charges, these are not convictions. Based off the charges, there is the plural use of videos, which is somebody who has at least 5 lawyers in their family, including aunts and uncles and grandparents. That's a sneaky thing, but we're talking about multiple videos here. We're talking about multiple victims. We're talking about one victim under the age of 16 that didn't know the videos were being taken, that had the videos distributed to multiple people without their knowledge or consent after they didn't know the videos were being taken in the first place. And the potential recruitment or targeted use of minors, potentially plural. The charge is plural, right? But obviously in translation, in terms of the way the law is applied in Spain, I'm not going to get overly specific with that means there were multiple minors involved. I don't know, right? That could just be the way the law is applied. Minors, and it could, 1 to multiple would be a way that could be interpreted. This is an awful crime. This is the sort of thing that destroys lives. This is the sort of thing in which truly morally deviant people that need to be kept away from society are identified. People whose moral compass is basically non-functional or highly warped, or at least they're unable to resist the peer pressure of somebody whose moral compass is incredibly highly warped, which in a sense indicates not having that moral compass be nearly strong enough. They are just charges, but they are bad ones. They're not pretty. Now, one thing I do want to be very clear about is that I don't know, and it doesn't seem The Athletic does either, and they're the ones that have they've taken a dive deeper than anyone else in this, where Raul Asensio fits into this. But this is something that I'm sure Real Madrid is paying intense attention to. And this is something that could rightfully take down his entire career. That or he plays for Marseille. Those will basically be his two options if he is convicted, which I would believe the possibility, based off the way this has all gone down, of him being convicted is a lot less than the other three people involved, because he wasn't charged at the time and was kind of roped into this later after they brought him in as a witness and they went, hey, hold on a second. But those sorts of details are not publicly available. And there will be a point in the future where we hear from Raul Asensio about what he says happened, and we hear from the courts. Because now that the fact-finding mission has been concluded, it has been sent to the prosecutor's office. And basically the way this works in Spain is the prosecutor can either pick it up and run with it, which obviously the expectation is that is going to happen in this case, considering 3 of these guys were already arrested, or they could not. Right? That's the way the legal system works. It's been investigated. They have presented a report saying, hey, we think you should charge this. We think you should take this to court. And the prosecutors will pick it up, and they will likely, but not definitely, decide to run with it because they also believe that it is a strong enough case. So now you know. Now you know what Raul Asensio is involved in. Letter of the law type stuff. As for how you should feel about it, weird. You should feel weird. Because, I mean, you can feel whatever the hell you want, right? But I feel weird about it. Because I do, like I said earlier, believe in the idea of innocent until proven guilty, and it basically holds all of society together. But when somebody has an investigation of this potential magnitude, potential debauchery and sin, right, hanging over them, it's really hard to interact with them normally. It's really hard to watch a Real Madrid game and see Raul Asensio touch the ball and not go, huh. And if he's not guilty of this, if his friends are, I'm just imagining a scenario, but his friends have tried to drag him down with them, but he wasn't involved and he left the room and tried to tell somebody or whatever, right? Then I hope that comes out, and I hope all of this leaves it in the past. But if he is guilty, I hope not even Marseille signs him. Seriously. But for now, this is basically all we've got. So do with that what you will. It's a nasty situation. Hey, so there's actually something I need to add on to this. I came across this headline basically right as I was about to upload this video, so it kind of got delayed. But apparently, according to El Mundo, and this is obviously something that would line up with the way the story goes, but we can't, this is according to El Mundo, right? That Raul Asensio is involved in this because he asked one of the people that was more involved in it for them to send him the video. And according to El Mundo, he knew a minor was involved in the video. So not only the idea that it was taken without consent and was being distributed without consent, but the fact that he knew a minor was in the video and was asking for it as well. The quote is, knowing that it had been obtained without the consent of the potential victims and kept against their demand that it be deleted, and also that he didn't care that one of the possible victims was a minor. He admitted in a conversation that he didn't care that one of the possible victims was a minor. That's a quote. So that obviously adds a lot of juice when you start understanding specifics to this. And by juice, obviously, I mean just more terrible shit that makes me want to burn my ears off with like chlorine gas or something. As a result of that, though, I also came across another article that shows that the judge retracted one of the potential charges, the crime of recording sexually explicit videos, because obviously, based off of the quotes that El Mundo's reporting, he wasn't involved in the actual recording at all. The other charges obviously still exist, but the charge of recording the stuff, that is, they clarified the ruling that Raul Asensio is not, it's the other people that are under that charge. Raul Asensio is not under that charge, just so we're clear on everything.